in Dominica, the Caribbean, and the rest of the world, a special good evening to you and welcome to Roots Connections on Q right here on Q95, the big station. It is great to be back with you for another episode of Roots Connection. This is our number one program for navigating how despite our challenges, we can position Dominica to reap the benefits of this ever changing world. Because, as many of us will acknowledge, the only constant in this world today is change. So, how do we navigate this ever changing world and reap the benefits? What in the world around us is changing? What are new approaches we should be considering in adapting in various aspects of our life? What are the challenges and the opportunities, especially financial opportunities? And how can our Dominican experts at home and abroad avail themselves to guide us with these changes? So we cover quite a bit of information on this program, but the main premise of the program is navigating our changing world and positioning Dominica so we can reap the benefits of our changing world. By now, we all know that today is International Women's Day, and we say congratulations and we celebrate the women in our lives. We are happy to be joined by a special young lady who will introduce herself in just a little while. But today we celebrate the accomplishments of women, and we also pray for the women, so many women across the world who are still oppressed and abused on a daily basis. Even today, we heard about the Iranian young girls who've allegedly been poisoned. So again, women face so many challenges in this world. So it is great to pause and just celebrate women today. And we also know that we lost one of our legends in Dominica, a sports legend, Mr. Irvin Shillingford. So again, we say condolences to his wife Liz and his children, his friends, his family. We had a great celebration on Monday evening on our Kudos to Our Heroes program, where we celebrated the life and the legacy of Mr. Irvin Shillingford. And this is what we are continuing this evening. So this evening, we're looking at how do we build on the legacy of the sports greats that we have seen in Dominica, including Mr. Irvin Shillingford. How do we build on his legacy by ensuring the next generation of our sportsmen and our sportswomen have the opportunity to create careers out of sports? Because too many times we simply think of sports as a leisure activity, as a pastime. And I see Dunstan, one of our stalwarts in sports, I see that he's already nodding his head because he knows that he as well has created tremendous opportunities for our young people to go overseas to study based on sports scholarships. So one of the things we'll be talking about is the need to change the mindset of our people in Dominica as it relates to sports. And even our current queen, Miss Adicia Burton, who, by the way, I have to thank for her recommendation of our young lady who will introduce herself. Even she talked about the importance that sports played in her life with regards to teaching her discipline, time management, and everything she has been able to accomplish. Mind you, this is a young lady, I'm very proud of her, who was able to attain 11 ones at the O level exam. So very proud of her. So she talks highly about sports. So that is what we are here to talk about this evening. So again, if you're just joining us, welcome to Roots Connections on Q. This is episode number 43 for today, March 8th, 2023, and I am your host, Simone Mathieu. I see that we are live on Facebook and YouTube. So a special good evening to everyone joining us on the radio, our worldwide audience on the radio, as well as everyone joining us on Facebook and YouTube at Q95 FM Radio. And I will go ahead and share it to push past 10 in just a little bit. But again, if you're looking to join the conversation on social media. We are on Q95 FM radio and Q95 FM radio on YouTube and Facebook. And don't forget, for the best of daily programming, you can log on to q95da.com. And as I mentioned, we had Kudos to Our Heroes on Monday, and it is already playing on q95da.com. So if you missed this great celebration of the life of Irving Shillingford, you can be sure to jump in and check it out. And you can also check out our last episode of Roots Connections, where we talked about carnival and culture for sale. How do we dissect and package our culture and our carnival so that we continue to reap financial benefits throughout the year? So again, thank you for being here. Welcome to the program. We have with us this evening Mr. Dunstan Maggie Peters, who's in the studio, Mr. Shannah Robin, who's out there in Canada, and we also have the lovely Miss Earnisha Fontaine, representing women's cricket in Dominica. So we're looking forward to hearing from all our guests, and we may have one person join us a little bit later. But for now, we want to invite our guests to unmute their mics and introduce themselves while I go ahead and share the live all over the place. So we'll start, ladies first. Earnisha, tell us who you are.
Good evening, everyone. First up, I'd like to say Happy International Women's Day to all the women listening out there. My name is Earnisha Fontaine. I'm from peaceful village of Kerwish River. This is located in the Kalilago territory. And I am currently one of the West Indian wicketkeepers on the first ever under 19 team. Um, in my spare time, I enjoy baking and I train a lot as well, so I don't really have a lot of time for that anymore. But yeah, that's just me.
Yes, so we have a lot to unpack just from that introduction, Earnisha. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. Dunstan, how are you? Thank you for being here. A true stalwart, a true patriot in so many ways. A man who needs no introduction, but I will still have him say a couple of words. And Dunstan, while you're on the mic, just give us, for those of us who are not on social media, can you just give us a quick brief of what happened in Wesley today? Let's not take too much time, but I think people are interested in knowing. So just give us a 2-minute brief of what transpired in Wesley today.
Okay, greetings everybody. Dunstan Maggie Peters, already. You know, People's Minister of Sports on the island of Dominica. Yeah, I give myself that title. Well, in Wesley today, it was as expected. We went down there with two busloads of the Wednesday people. The people that we work on Wednesdays. Mostly people 50 and over. 40, and the elders. And we were greeted with a whole heap of police and barricades. A whole heap of and when we got there, didn't really expect no real pushback, because we it's not I don't know, we don't come to do, because we've been working for like 50 weeks and had no incidents, so we didn't expect all that. But then true say, some guy came on social media openly and hurled threats at the people, the workers who said they were going to come, and it went viral. Well, I expected that the police came there to protect the people from the guy, but apparently when we got there, it looked like the police was being commanded by the guy, because when we got there and the people started pray, I've seen a little prayer, opening prayer and stuff like that, near a tent that had nobody under it, two tents with nobody. There was nobody underneath the tent, so a couple people who stood under the tent and they were praying. Some of the others was in the sun, and they're praying. And the guy came there and spoke with the inspector, and then the inspector proceeded to come under the tent and tell us we need to leave, come out under the tent. So I asked him why. He tell me that's their area where they're, but I said, well, there's nobody under there, and so the police was actually, unfortunately, instead of protecting the people, was actually on the side of the guy who was hurling threats at the elders, and that was very shameful and very sad. You know what I mean? But it is what it is for
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dunstan, and that is quite unfortunate. And you just highlighted the many battles that we fight in Dominica on a daily basis. We have so many challenges, so many battles. But I say it all the time, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So yes, we have to continue fighting these battles in Dominica, but at the same time, we still have to work on creating opportunities for
Opportunities.
our
Yes, sir.
people, especially for our young people who need hope, who need direction, who
Sure.
need guidance. So I always want us to remember that yes, we have to continue these battles, but we also have to remain cognizant of those who need our guidance, direction, and the hope we can offer them. So let us go ahead and invite Professor Robin to the program. Tell us who you are and just give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening to all the powerful and wonderful women of the world. Today's Women Independence Day, so I want to acknowledge the magnificent women of the world. So I'm Professor Robin, the founder and creator of Universal Martial Arts Academy. I've been a sports advocate all my life, and it's an honor to be here. I guess most people would have already known me, but for those who don't, I'm a very positive person. I see we have a whole bunch of positive people on your panel tonight, so big up to everybody and thank you for having me.
Yes, excellent, excellent. So let me go ahead and also send you guys the link to the Facebook Live so you can go ahead and share that as well. So, again, we want to thank you for joining us to be a part of this conversation. And we say good evening to the Q95 family, Mr. G, Sherwin Norris, our engineer, DJ Shan, of course, Lambi on the console. And we are so grateful for the opportunity to be here every second and fourth Wednesday of the week to tap into that human resources that we have around the world and to reverse the brain drain that we have seen all around the Caribbean region. And of course, we're always mindful to keep in mind in our prayers our vulnerable children, Kanisha Etienne, and our vulnerable women, especially today on Women's International Day. We remember Velma Valmont and Avenel Charles as we continue to honor women who have been abused in Dominica. And so we are back. We are creating those strategic action plans for how do we move our Dominican people, our island Dominica, and the Caribbean region forward. And we're looking forward to your contribution. We always look forward to your contribution via your phone calls as well as the messages that you post on social media. So essentially this evening, we are asking three questions. Where were we during the height of sports in Dominica? And I can already go back in my mind and think about the rivalry between Harlem and Kensborough on a Sunday afternoon where everybody was talking. There were even calypsos made about that rivalry. So let us kind of look back and reminisce about the height of sports in Dominica. Where are we today in terms of sports? And where do we need to go to elevate our young people and provide opportunities? Because when we think of sports, sometimes we only think about the sportsmen and women. But as Dunstan will explain to us in a little while, it goes beyond that. We're looking at the administrators. We're looking at the coaches. We're looking at the sponsors. We're looking at the public who's involved. And again, I just want to take an opportunity to thank those who are representing here this evening, because one of the challenges that you will find with our ability to elevate sports in Dominica is those who are involved in the many different organizations, the different clubs, do not engage in the media. And I can tell you that not only because I watched the program where Dunstan was talking about it, but because I tried to engage them to come on this program. And unfortunately, I did not receive a positive response. So we have a lot to uncover. So let's come to you, Earnisha, as we begin. Do you have recollection? I know you're kind of young, but do you recall the height of sports in Dominica and what that was like?
Yes, I recall that, and it was truly amazing to see. that my country was all over the news. To be honest, at some point, and I felt like, okay, like Dominica is on the map. That we're going to get somewhere soon. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yes, thank you for that. Professor, you're muted. You're muted.
So 1 second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I've been playing sports all of my life, from athletics to basketball, volleyball, and I can remember when I was growing up. I will say, without any apology, that sports has fallen in Dominica drastically. However, I remember the days when I was growing up that sports was the hype. That was the getaway for all the young boys in the ghetto. That was our getaway. That's the area where we used to come. And I remember, for example, I can speak very clearly of athletics because I used to be in a club called Westmore Rangers from Marigot. And then you had Westmore Rangers and Olympians and Park and all the different. So you had Portsmouth, you had Granby, you had Roseau. And every weekend we would look for the revival, the champions of those villages, and we would come to Roseau and we would take part in, different activities. And it was a festive time. It was a time where, you know, every young person were looking forward to coming to the Windsor Park. I was about 11, 10, 11, 12 years old at the time. And I used to run away so I could go and do track and field. You know what I mean? And, you know, basketball was another big hype again, because I remember we saw some serious basketball right now. Maybe, my partner there can talk about more about the basketball. But I remember when I was growing up, man, we had some serious basketballers in Dominica. We had some serious footballers in Dominica. And where are these people now? That's the question. The question is, yes, there was a hype, but with all the hype, where are those people who were the champions of champions? Maggie knows some of them just fall on the wayside because they never got the support, and they never get that, that push. Like how Jamaica pushed their athletes, like how Trinidad pushed their athletes. We never got that push because maybe our mindset wasn't there, but I definitely remember the hype. I definitely recall that, and I make reference to that a lot of times when I speak, the things that we used to have and some of the recommendations that I ask for as a ambassador in sports internationally for my country, Dominica, and sad but true, it never really came to fulfillment. Maybe one day it will, so that, yeah, but I definitely remember the hype,
Yeah,
you
and I
know.
just remember a post you made, Professor, where you talked about um, asking for assistance up to 17 times to
Oh,
help to grow your martial arts business. So tell us about that.
well, well, I was always a determined young man. I was a very determined person. Um, and I wasn't fortunate to have my family backing behind me when I was coming up. And because I grew up in a very humble home, when I say humble, I mean very poor and unfortunate, sports was my getaway, running away and playing and distracting my mind from everything else that was going on around me. Sports was one of my ways. And I remember when my schools closed down, I had to stop athletics because I wasn't eating right and I couldn't perform because, back in the days when we have athletics in the morning, we'll drink our little carnation, eat a piece of cheese, to give us energy so we can run throughout the day. And I could not even afford that. So when I became a martial artist and I started, I know I had a dream, I had an aspiration to help young people and to make a difference in my country. It was very hard coming up. And I can say that if I didn't have the determination to succeed, I would not have been where I am today. But I definitely remember speaking to some of the authorities. I don't really want to go too deep into it and
No,
call too
you
many
don't
names,
have to.
you know. But I remember writing many letters, and I was rejected every single time up to this day. That's one of the reasons why I am very independent and I do things independently, because I get better results when I put my name and my energy behind certain things.
Mhm,
They say sometimes when you don't get things being done, you have to do it yourself. And
mhm.
I'm one of the person that don't. I'm not going to sit by the wayside and ask what is happening. I'm going to make things happen. That's who I am as a person. You
Right.
know.
Thank you for
So
that.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Duncan, I want to come to you, but we're just having Mr. Ronald Green join in on the conversation. Ron, thank you for being here with us. Just introduce yourself quickly, and just to catch you up a little bit, we're talking about the height of sports in Dominica, what that looks like, and also the opportunities it created for many Dominicans. And Facebook, I want you to also to help us. And if anybody's calling in, just remind us of some of the sports greats that we saw in Dominica and the opportunities that these men and women received from being involved in the field of sports. So, Ron, thank you for being here. Just introduce yourself and catch us up.
Well, thank you. Let me say good night to everyone in the studio and everyone listening. It's good to be here. I will certainly look forward to participating, in the conversation. Um, from my perspective, I've been a sportsman pretty much all my life. Um, Born in Roseau, but I migrated to the States as a young teenager and got involved in track and field from the beginning. And it was that in fact allowed me to go to university. So as an individual, it is sports that allowed me to achieve certain heights. And I want to start by complimenting all of those that in Dominica who have over the years achieved the heights that in track and field, in basketball, in football, in cricket, because they have certainly not only done well for themselves in terms of the heights they achieved, but they have brought great pride to Dominicans for their achievements. I mean, there are a number of names that come to mind, but once I start naming names, I'm bound to forget one or two. I mean, Brother Romain comes to mind, the triple jumper that did so well in the triple jump in track and field. I remember in the Olympics of 1996, he performed, and I was one of those. I was fortunate at the time to have witnessed his performance. But there are many, many others in a range of sports. So I'm happy to be on the program, and I look forward to the discussion and to participating.
Yes, and thank you for being here. Dunstan, let me come over to you. The height of sports, and as we already see Ron mention, it provided him with the opportunity to go to university. So we can already check that one off as an accomplishment. But let's come to you as you tell us about the heights of sports in Dominica and the opportunities it provided for our athletes.
Yeah, and I'd like to start by bigging up Mr. Ron Green, for he's still right now involved in sports in a big way. With the Southeast, he always is on the sideline with the Southeast team doing what all his he can, to support them, and also being for me, he's the only real true minister of sports we have ever had in all 40 plus years of independence. I I he's the only one who was a true minister of sports. All sporting event, he would be there in the park, in the lineup, regional events. When he was, top ranking in the 90s, he would be there. You don't have to. You don't send nobody to represent him or something. He always present. Maybe he miss one or two, but you know what I mean. So big up to Mr. Ron Green, and yeah, I'm a 70s, born in the 70s, so the 80s and the 90s. And when I get to live in Newtown, in the height of Harlem, the Bombers and the Windsor Park, I always tell the youth and them like train, what you all seen on TV, we saw it live in front of us in the Windsor Park. You know what I mean? All the things, the moves you see, the messy things, the kind of crowd you see on the TV, we had that in the park. The wall was lined up with people all on the pavilion and with not lights. So in the hot sun, I still asking myself right now, all the guys and them were sitting on the roof of the pavilion for a 4 o'clock game, hot sun, and the roof of the pavilion loaded with people. The walls lined up. You have to come early and see if you can get a little squeeze. Bava still had a section, my grammar school there. You know what I mean? The whole wall lined up. Stands breaking full to capacity in the Windsor Park. That's how it was. And you would be all the way between Bath Road walking to a game. And if a ball just pass whiz over the goal post, the whole crowd, woo, you would feel that when you're walking and start to walk fast, like you don't want to miss another, a goal. So back then, and the things I see, like we see where Dominica is, we play, let's say, football, and you see us chasing the ball. It used to be the other way around, where when we play in Antigua and all them teams there, is them chasing the ball and we knocking the ball, Echo, Solka, Shane Marshall and them guys, and in the basketball, DD and all these guys. So we were there, and instead we elevate, and right now with things evolving, and you know we expect it to be building on that, but somehow at some point we dropped, and we just going steady downhill.
Mhm.
And we really have to assess it and see what went wrong where, so we can start to fix it, and which we are in the process of, but we have to come together to do it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and it just brings back memories of the days of sports days at the high school level with lime and spoon and needle and thread and sack race and the rivalry between the schools that we don't really see right now. But before we talk about where we are right now, we have to keep in mind that the reason we do these programs is because we see the promise. We see the promise in young Ajani Casimir, who just came back from Guadeloupe and won his cycling race. We see the hope in Alec Athanas, who I wanted to have on the program, but he's all the way in South Africa playing with the West Indies team, Tia Lafont. And we are happy to have one of our promising young people with us today, Miss Earnisha Fontaine. So, Earnisha, just kind of tell us about your journey with women's cricket and the history of women's cricket and how you got involved and what you have accomplished to this day. Because I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to showcase the talent and showcase the accomplishment of those in the area of sports to inspire other young people to pursue that path. So, Anisha, tell us about your journey.
Okay, so I began playing cricket at a very young age, to be very honest. In my backyard is a playing field, so they would have a lot of cricketing events. And I not only play cricket, I play volleyball as well. I played for Dominica as well on the inter-schools team, and a little football. And then I began my cricket career. I started training at the age of 12, and my uncle was the one who was encouraging me, even my mother as well, because we all play cricket in our family. So it like runs in my blood. So I began training at the age of 12, and then I made the Dominica team at 15. Um, it has been a long journey, to be very honest, a lot of ups and downs. I started last year with Windwards on the 19 team as the wicketkeeper, and then from there I went to training camps, and then I went to other camps, and then got selected afterwards, but wasn't selected to go to India because I have no idea the reason why. I think it's just for me to reflect on what I did wrong. So it kind of discouraged me a lot, but I kept working, and then I got a call last year, December, to come to Antigua for a training camp, and I got selected to be the wicketkeeper batsman for that team. Um, the history of cricket in the women's cricket in the Caribbean is currently on a rise, as you may know, that women are participating more in the sport. As you know, there's women's CPL now, which I am trying to get myself into, and there's now internationally women's IPL, which is the India Premier League. And more women are involved. There are also more coaches involved, women coaches, and more leagues as well. Especially for me, this year I'm so booked. I have another tournaments coming up month after month, which is the regionals, senior regionals. There's an under 19 camp. I have to attend to Antigua next week, which is, I believe, is a good opportunity for me and the other young cricketers trying to use cricket as a professional career. It has been a very challenging road for me as well, to be honest, as we come from Dominica, and I have a lack of infrastructure and
Mhm.
some lack of coaching experience because I am a wicketkeeper and we need a wicketkeeping specialist, so that comes in very handy. And I didn't really have that. And my personal coach, Mr. Sam Kernan, which is the one helping me right now, and Abini Serja, which is my teammate as well, saying good night to her. Um, so we worked really hard over the past, and we made that team in less than a year. So it was really a lot for me, especially, and that's a big dream come true. And not only that, because I'm working to get on the senior team as well. And cricket in Dominica, also the history, you know that before. Pearl Etienne was also involved on the West Indies team, and they actually won the World Cup in 2011 and in 2016. So that was really, and I dreamed of being on a West Indies team and actually winning a World Cup. And here I am on West Indies under 19, the first ever under 19 team. So it does says a lot about women's cricket in Dominica. As you know, in April now we have our regional tournament coming up, and Dominica team we going to start training really soon, and we will hope that we will get the best results. Um, I believe that we will, and hopefully cricket will be on a rise in Dominica. Not only cricket, but other sports as well. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes, and congratulations on your accomplishments today, as well as Miss Seja. And brothers and sisters, this is why we are fighting this battle, because we see the promise. We have an example right here before us of a young lady who has the potential to make women's cricket her career. So we have to support that, and we have to figure out how do we reproduce opportunities for those who are interested in making sports a career. So that is what we are talking about. If you tuned in late, we are talking about embracing opportunities in sports so that more of our young men and women, and a lot of our young men, can potentially get off the block that we complain about so many times and find a career that is not academic based, because not everybody's academically inclined. But Ron, let me come to you. In your opinion, the status of sports in Dominica today? You're muted.
Thank you. We have a long way to go. Maggie was outlining the achievements and the heights of the 80s. I recall being the president of the Dominica Amateur Basketball Association in the 80s, and the days of Hola and Plastic and all the talent that we had in basketball. So there's a lot of talent. Talent is abundant in our country. Earnisha is an example of a young talent coming up.
Mhm.
But I would say that at present we are going through difficult times in terms of achieving the heights that we're capable of achieving. I think it's because all the various factors and components that have to come together have not been able to come together to create the environment that will allow the talent to be cultivated and to flourish. Fortunately, Earnisha has had the willpower and the right environment to keep her encouraged and keep her working, but that has not been able to happen in enough corners of our country. It's not a question of throwing any blame, but it does take a combination of government, it takes a combination of private sector, the combination of all the regional and national bodies in sports working together to ensure that all the pieces are in place so that the talent can in fact come to the heights that it's capable of coming. And I don't think we have that right now. I think we have slipped in the last decade or two, and we have to probably, that's a special session to identify the particular slippages that have occurred in the last decade or two, and to identify where we have to push to be able to ensure. I mean, right now in football, I've been fortunate to be working the last 2 decades in the Southeast with, as Maggie pointed out, the Southeast Football Club as manager. We are champions of Dominica now, but it has been a long slog. It took many years of work to get to the heights that we have now. And it's a combination of the fan support, the board, the players, the coaches. Um, but still, there are a lot of components that were not there. Sometimes at village level, you can achieve more because of the tightness of the community and the push that you get from the community. So I think it's going to take. I don't know if we can do it tonight. If we can begin to explore what are the factors that have slipped, and certainly facilities have not um, blossomed or be developed to the heights that they could have been developed in the last couple of decades.
Mhm.
Yes, we have a national stadium, but beyond that, what do we have?
Mhm.
You know, we
Yeah,
can talk about.
absolutely. So that is
Sorry.
what we're exploring this evening. We're exploring the strategic plan for how do we elevate sports in Dominica. And you're absolutely correct that a lot of it has to do with the facility. And that is one of the things that Earnisha mentioned in terms of the infrastructure, not having adequate infrastructure. And I think I just want to get us to the point where we're not seeing young people like Earnisha and Alec Athanas who have to dig so deep to stay motivated despite the external challenges that they face to pursue a career in sports. Because, for example, I was listening to one program and the speaker was talking about how I think Alec Athanas had to traverse from Grand Bay to Portsmouth for training. And that shouldn't be the case. We should have facilities in the south and the north of the island at the minimum to facilitate those who are interested in sports. But Professor, let me come to you. Your views on the current status of sports in Dominica, and then we're going to start talking about where do we go from here? How do we elevate? What is needed in training? Anisha mentioned coaching. What is needed, and how we can pool those resources together so that we can provide these opportunities, these much needed opportunities for our young men and women to excel in sports. Professor?
Um, I'm smiling because I don't know if you want me to be very blunt and honest, or if you want me
Be
to be
honest.
impeccable with my words.
Be honest.
Because if I have to give my real opinion of sports, like for example, I did sports my whole life, and then I started teaching at the Dominica Grammar School in 2004, 2005, and I was a sports teacher. I taught cricket, I taught athletics, basketball, and so on. And I moved on to Grand Bay, and then I move on to ITSS, then I move on to Goodwill Secondary School before I resign. And I can say that we have a lot of talent. Seeing that and I've dealt with the Portsmouth secondary school on a wide range, the Adventist secondary school. At one point, they were very dominant in the athletics with Pac down there. And I can say that without a doubt that we have a lot of raw talents in Dominica. And the unfortunate situation, as Mr. Ron Green said, is that it has been dropping for the last 2 decades. I would say the last 3 to 4 decades, or maybe even 5 decades, probably. And yes, we do have a few young persons who slipped through and made it through university through sports. But what is the percentage in relation to the amount of young men and women who are actually taking part in sports?
Mhm.
So maybe out of 100, maybe just one or two every 5 years. And that is not, for me, that's not a very good percentage in terms of the representation of our young men and women. So the facilities, I remember 2 decades ago, and every time I speak, I've always been asking for an indoor facility. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm a martial artist. I'm an international martial artist, and I want to host an international karate tournament. And there's nowhere to bring people like 5, 6, 7, 8 countries to with over 5,000 competitors. There's nowhere in Dominica for me to be able to host such an event as we speak. So yes, as Mr. Green said, we have a national stadium, but where do we go from there? If there's rain, then there's nothing that can happen. So I believe that if we pay attention to the infrastructure and we put it in place, for example, you have a closed dome and you can do basketball, volleyball, lawn tennis, um, ping pong, all of those indoor sports, then we don't have to worry about the weather, because then we're going to have sports year round. You know what I mean? We don't have to go massacre and sit down under a little galvanized, and when it's raining, people wetting and they have to run and shelter across the streets. If you have an indoor facility where people can be comfortable, and people might say, but what is the maintenance? People will be more than happy to pay $5, $10, $15 to come and watch their favorite sports team, compete against another team. And I believe that is one of the things that will keep the young people off the streets, is having an infrastructure where we can have sports year round, in and out of seasons. And that is my opinion. Has that ever happened? No. Have we suggested those things? Yes. And do people listen to us young people? Not really. You understand? And some people are just there for their selfish gains. We have a few generals, like I call Mr. Ron Green, those kind of guys, Maggie. These guys are generals. These guys are there in and out of season to help young people, to not demotivate them, but to help them to grow and push them up. But a lot of young people, like for example, look at Trinidad. Let's look at Jamaica. Look at Grenada. Okay, I can say I was a boxer for about 5 to 6 years for Dominica. But where did it take me? I maybe go to 1 or 2 competition and that was it. There was no real support, no real coaching, no real insurance, no real stipend. So at the end of the day, you have a guy who wants to pursue a career in boxing, and then guess what? He has to go work at Whitchurch and lift heavy boxes all day long and then go train for 2 hours. Do you think he's going to be on his A game? He's not really going to be on his A game. Maggie's shaking his head, because we're talking truth to power. If we want to be real, let's be real. So there should be a system in place, which I know there's things for the system to be in place, but maybe the representatives doesn't care that much. And I'm trying to be very general because I don't want to offend anyone. So I'm trying to be very general with how I'm speaking right now. But that is the sad situation. So now what happened with that promising athlete? He's going to lose hope. He's like, boy, that's a waste of time. He's going to drop the drugs because he's turning over more money doing the drugs than actually going and train and release his tension. He's frustrated. So now he's mad at everybody and everything. So now you wonder why crime is increasing. Believe it or not, sports do help to curb crime.
Absolutely.
On every level. You know what I mean? I can tell you, I wasn't an easy kid coming up. And because of sports, martial arts, boxing, track and field, I was able to change my life around. And that's why I dedicate my life to this. Because I know the benefit that sports have on, especially poor children. Because that's our escape. That's the escape that poor children going to have to take their mind off not having food. We used to go and play for 5, 6, 8 hours with no food in our stomach, and we still had energy. Now you got guys sitting on the blocks, frustrated, anxiety. So there's a lot of trickling down, and I think, as Mr. Ron Green said, we have to come together collectively in order to change that. And it has to start, one, with the proper infrastructure. We are asking for money for all kind of stuff, but we don't put the money in there. The other countries, and I like to compare ourselves to the other countries, especially the Caribbean other countries like Grenada, Trinidad, Jamaica. Look at the athletes. They take this thing seriously. That's the reason why they are dominating the sports world. And we have raw athletes. Look at around Dominica. It's bush. It's oxygen like crazy. So we are naturally strong. We are naturally built for this. But if we don't have the correct push, we don't have the correct help, then we just gonna give up. And like this young lady, I remember seeing her coming up, and I don't know if she remember me, but I remember her very clear. And she has a very determined mind.
Yep.
She hardly miss a training. She'll always be there. She's doing what she gotta do. But how many people have that mindset? How many people have that motivation to wait 10, 15 years to say, you know what, it will happen? Not many. You know what I mean? And the generation are getting weaker by the minute. If you look around society and you look at, Maggie can tell you as a basketball coach, the way we used to train back in the days, the guys who come in and train now, they're not actually that They can't take that training. They can't. So we are being faced with so many obstacles. It's too many to mention. But I think we need to come together collectively, like we are doing right now, having people from different genre in the different sports coming together. I could say, you know what, I'm in Canada to hell with Dominica and go do what I do best, and don't worry. But hey, this is my roots. This is where I came from, and I always remember the best thing any athlete can do is to stay humble and return to help. This is what Usain Bolt is doing in Jamaica right now. He's doing foundations. He's doing different things to help the other Jamaican athletes without being selfish, and to open ways and doors, because the more Jamaicans that go out there, the more Jamaica is on the map. So the same thing for Dominica. The more Dominicans that are out there, the more we put Dominica on the map and we represent, and people get to know who we are. You know what I mean? So big up to this young lady who is there right now, and continue doing what you're doing, and all the other young persons who are listening. I know it's rough and I know it's tough, but let's hope that this discussion from tonight can spark in the right direction and create a flame of development.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Very well said. On Facebook, I see all the comments coming in, so keep them coming. I am coming to you in a little while. But Dunstan, let me come over to you. So we are unpacking a lot this evening. And of course, we are going to create a strategic plan. So we have a lot more to discuss as we talk about embracing sports as career opportunities for our Dominican youth. And we are already seeing, Dunstan, the need for investment, the need for infrastructure. And, I always like to have a balanced conversation. So I want to talk about the fact that we recently saw an indoor facility built in Maho for sports. But Dunstan, is that enough of an investment? What is the current state of sports in Dominica, Dunstan?
Well, to speak to the facility first, because I as Mr. Rongren said, and the rest of us, is a long discussion. We got it tonight. It's just the beginning. We can touch. We've been checking on it. But I make a short list there. But with the facility, we should have that long time. We supposed to have like 4 or 5 of that in the place.
Yeah.
North, south, east, and west supposed to have that. But we're grateful for it still, and we want to build on it. We want to. But trust me, between me and you, like come on. Anyway, let me just our short list there quick. First thing is a problem that I've recognized is that we keep replacing one thing with another and ending up with one thing instead of having multiple things. The Windsor Park is one of them. The Windsor Park that's a shrine where things was happening, and then we tear down the Windsor Park to replace it with the Windsor Park, when we could have just enhanced the Windsor Park, and that stadium we built there, we could have built it somewhere else. So we would have the Windsor Park and the stadium somewhere, Warner or Grand Bay or somewhere. So we would have 2 right now, but we still end up with 1. And the one we end up with now, we have to have it enclosed, and so now Roseau, all the clubs in Roseau have no place to go and recreate and train, because right now we cannot go in. Another wash your foot and come inside. They say so it's a stadium, so it have to be for tournaments and stuff like that. So where are you standing? The Roseau had Blue Stars and Kensborough and Dame Central, so many football clubs and basketball, and then that Windsor Park is a major blow. You know what I mean? And look again, we're still making that same mistake again. Stock farm, build a facility, stock farm, and then we go and decide we're gonna put artificial surface on it, and it already had a surface. Instead, we try to manage the surface to fix it up and put that artificial surface on somewhere else. We would have 2. We would have stock farm with surface and an artificial surface, maybe Pottersville, Savannah or something. So we would have 2. So we keep replacing things with the other, and we're not having the continuity, growth. You know what I mean? Next thing is the media. The media back then used to play a major role. You knew the athletes. You knew, you could go by Mr. Ken. When you go in there, you see how much newspaper clipping, big center pages. The Chronicle had big pages, articles of Ronnie Gustav, Earl White, all these guys, Derek Alexander, all these guys. So you knew these people, you see them, you want to go in the park, because if you going to watch a team, you want to know who's on the team. So you're going to check the team because you have that player, you see him, you know what he can do, so you want to go and see him perform against another team. You understand? So the media is a major thing because it's marketing, just like a product. If you have a product, it's a great product, but if nobody knows about it, then it's nothing. It makes no sense. You check. So that's where DA Sports Vibes and Wang and myself, Albert Tit, we're pushing it from other guys coming on board, and the thing about it is people like to see something start rolling before you come on board. So you have to be willing. You have to be willing to stick with it, and keep pushing until people see, and then they come on board. So slow but sure we're getting there. But DA Sports Vibes is doing a good job right now, and we just look urging other people to come on board to help us because media is major key in anything in the world, and sports is no exception. And I mean, and like we said, this structure for us to get that, make it happen by like Earnisha is doing it. Like you say, she's self-determined and stuff like that. But we need to have things in place that will make it more efficient. Like you want to be that a cricketer, a professional cricketer, professional whatever sport. There needs to be a sports academy where you don't want to be just be a doctor or something. That's why I want to be a professional athlete. You should have an avenue there where you can do that because there's an Olympic committee that governs all the different sports. So therefore, these committees and these associations, we should have, and St. Lucia right there, like Shannah, Sheehan is saying, we like to compare. It's good to compare, and St. Lucia Dominica is both right away, and St. Lucia has a sports academy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and speaking of St. Lucia, Dunstan, I don't mean to cut you off,
Yeah, no
but
problem.
in terms of investments, I remember in one of your programs you talk about St. Lucia sending football players to Germany. So that
Definitely,
shows you an island that is investing in the
exactly.
potential of its athletes.
Exactly, and that is where Saint Lucia is who reached out to us through myself, where we get after a long while to get some students, athletes to get scholarships through the Free Kick Foundation, and so they saw with the same media. I'm talking about social media. I've been pushing the athletes, promoting the pictures and videos on my page, and the guy who is the head of the Free Kick Foundation sees that and he reached out to me and say, "Hey, would you like to bring some of your athletes to try out in our showcase?" And I say, "Well, tell me about it." And he tell me, and boom, and we go over there with 7 athletes and 6 of them get scholarships, and it's a big showcase and lots of St. Lucians there, so they invite the other islands, and the islands didn't respond because, and the same thing like Sheehan is saying, a lot of people in the position in the associations with no vision, so they're getting things knocking them in their face. Hey, look an opportunity, and they're just watching it like because it doesn't. They have no vision, so they don't even understand. They're saying like we have to spend money to send the people over there, and all they're seeing is money, and and not seeing the benefits to the country and the holistic thing. I mean, changing the lives of individuals. You understand? So by now, we should be having our own showcase and inviting St. Lucia, but instead that just go by the wayside, and now the whole program kind of just flopped for now, and we're trying to resuscitate it. But we need support for that. You know what I mean? And also, we need to highlight and spotlight our legends of the sports. Coco Shoe, these guys, Prags and all these guys, the plastics and them, they pass on the streets and the youth see them and don't know who they are because there's nothing, no history about them, no nothing. And they paved the way, and the associations, they again, and the different the Ministry of Sports and stuff. So need to find a way to let the youths and them know who these guys are, so they'll appreciate them more. And when this guy, when Fox from Newton come by the Savannah and he's on a game and he tells you something, you will know, hey, boy, Fox are talking to me there, so you will listen. But when you don't know who he is, just he's an old guy that is talking loud, you're just gonna, you're gonna take him on. So that's some of the things we need to, look into among other things. But we have to start somewhere, and we have to come together and cooperate, communicate, and respect each other. And just don't try and beat your chest and try and do it by yourself. Let's support each other.
Yeah, and I want to come to you, Ron, for any thoughts you may have. But Anisha, as Mr. Green is speaking, I want you, and I think it is so important that we have you here on this program because you are currently a sportswoman in Dominica, and you talk about all the opportunities to go to camp. And I think we can all agree that one of the issues that we have with sports in Dominica is, for example, when somebody's interested in pursuing sports, they may have to take time off from their job. And how many jobs are willing to give as much time as possible off to young people as they pursue their careers in sports? So, Anisha, I want to come to you and I want you to tell us, because sometimes we talk about young people, we talk, over them. But if you had a magic wand with your interest in pursuing women's cricket, what exactly would you want to see implemented in Dominica so you would be able to pursue your career? So think about that question for just a little while. Mr. Green, you have any thoughts you want to share at this point?
Yeah, I wanted to compliment Maggie and the point he made, particularly about promotion and public relations and the work he's doing. And what came to mind when he was talking was Arlington James, who had been doing an excellent job in the newspapers with the history of basketball, and trying to ensure that we understand who has made their contribution in the area of basketball over the years. Um, right now, we are champions of Dominica in the Premier League in football, and how many people know the name of Jocelyn Prince and Javid George and Yannick George and Darren Lazar and the other Adriel and so on, the other footballers that have, should be in effect household names in Dominica because the team has been champion for 2 consecutive years in the Premier League. So that promotion in this day of the social media is critical to 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 embellish the dreams of people like Earnisha and others in a range of sports, in whatever sport they may be. You have to dream first. It was Ernisha's dream at 12 years old, at 12 years old, that brought her to where she is right now. She was able to pursue that dream with some level of determination and put in the time so that she is now on the under 19 West Indies team. And there are a lot of youth around the country that need to have their dreams embellished and their dreams have an opportunity to flourish. And I think it is in this area. Simone, you are hosting this program. You are in media work. I think that point that Maggie made is an excellent point. And it's only one of the points he made. He made a lot of good points, but I just wanted to pick up on that particular point as a way of spreading the word as to who are the athletes in basketball, in volleyball, in cricket, in boxing, in martial arts, in football, in all the sports that are shining. Who are the young ones coming up? Who are the under 19s that will be the stars in the very near future? You know, and give them their credit, give them their kudos whilst they are young, so that their dreams can take them much further.
And it's so interesting that you mentioned that because one of the things we're looking to do is sort of highlight those who are striving for excellence, because yes, it's important to highlight those who have done the work and created the legacy, but I also think it's very important to highlight the Earnisha Fontaines of the world who are on the path to greatness, right? So how do we showcase her, to show her how proud we are of her and to inspire other young people? Because I'm sure even now there are already young girls who are looking at Earnisha and thinking, oh my God, I want to be just like her when I grow up. And that is what we want. So we're going to come to take your phone calls in just a little bit at the top of the hour. But I want to come to you, Earnisha. Professor already mentioned just having that willpower. That is so important to sports. But tell us, if you had a magic wand, what can we do for you?
Okay, so firstly, I would say I would like to have more facilities for training and programs, especially as before, in cricket, they used to have kiddies cricket and grassroots cricket before, and little girls used to be participating, such as me as well. So I would like to have that again, and even more qualified coaches to come to Dominica to train, especially during for various aspects of the sport for cricket as well. Because I'm a wicket keeper, I need a wicket keeping coach to train me as well. Even a physiotherapist as well should be involved, and even fitness coaches should be
Mm-hmm.
involved in the sport of cricket as well. So, and as you may know, some girls would not like having men coaching them. They would have to have women. So I believe that we should have more women coaches in Dominica, especially for the sport, not only for cricket, but other sports as well. Not only this, support from family members, which is very important, financially, emotionally. So I believe that we should have more family support because I had that on my way, and that's what have me here today. So I'm proud to say thank you to my family members for their ongoing support. Um, More involvement in women in leagues, starting from high school. I remember they used to have boys doing leagues. Like right now, as you know, they have the under 20 and they used to have under 15, and I would want to participate and I couldn't because I'm a girl. And they said ball would hit me and whatsoever, I would get injured. But I believe that we should have our own women's cricket league in Dominica and get more women involved in the sport. And then from there, we can see what we have. And maybe, hopefully, we will dominate in Dominica and throughout the Caribbean. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you for that. And while I have you on the mic, let me just ask you because I think you had an opportunity to travel to South Africa, was it, to represent the West Indies team? So just tell us what has been your traveling experiences like so far, and the opportunities that you have enjoyed so far from being in cricket.
So last year I began traveling in April. I went to St. Vincent for a bilateral series against Trinidad, and then I went to Trinidad for a regional tournament, and then I went to Antigua for training camps. And the traveling has been very amazing for me, to be honest. And then I got to meet West Indies senior women captain Haley Matthews in Antigua, and that was really truly amazing for me, and I enjoyed it the most. And when I went to South Africa, trust me, the traveling was very and extremely long, and it was a bit tiring, and it was difficult for us to adapt to the conditions because the air is a lot thinner down there and it's hotter. So it was a bit difficult for us to train as well. And then we got to South Africa, and then a lot of interviewers came to us. We got exposure at the World Cup. As you know, women's CPL is coming up in August, and they're looking for players such as me, and even women, girls from the under 19 World Cup was selected to play in the IPL as well, the Indian Premier League, which is international in India that is going on right now. So it was just amazing experience, and also seeing different cultures, going to the zoo and the safari, seeing different animals I've never seen before. So it just was a great exposure for me and a great experience. Thank you.
Amazing. And our perspective changes when we travel the world. I'm not sure if anybody else has experienced this, but traveling just opens your mind. It opens your perspective. You see the world differently. So the traveling that Earnisha is doing right now is so important. And congratulations to you, Earnisha. Congratulations, Maggie, on the opportunities that you're providing for young people. But let's go over to the studio and take some of your calls, some of the Facebook comments. And then when we come back, let us get into the real meat of the matter. That is, where do we go from there? How do we elevate sports? And Maggie, I'm going to come to you first and foremost because I know that you're doing a tremendous job with DA Sports Vibes. So I'm going to come to you first, and then everyone else, let us start thinking about where do we go from here? How do we elevate sports in Dominica so we can create that strategic plan? And we know that a lot of what we're talking about is very difficult, not impossible, but very difficult if we do not have a national policy to guide our sports, the direction that we want to see sports go. So yes, there has to be a national policy. Yes, there has to be government intervention. But what as we as a community can do to get the ball rolling in the absence of that national policy? Lambi?
Roots Connection and Q, taking your calls right now. The numbers are 449 3095, 449 3096, 449 3097, 616 4257. The international access number is 305 432 9624. Let's run those numbers again. 449 3095 96 and 97, 616 4257, 305 432 9624. Back to you, Simone.
Yes, thank you. So, Facebook, let's take some of your comments again. Thank you for being here, everyone who's joining us on the Facebook Live. Don't forget to share the live while you're on Facebook, on Q95 FM radio, on Facebook and YouTube. Dorian Dorival, great to see you. Good night. Greetings to all. I'm late and I'm here, and blessed greetings to all women. You are on your special day. Clyde Gregoire, nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Judith Cochran, good evening to all the panelists and great discussion as usual. Thank you, Judith. Jordan Luke, losing Windsor Park was a major blow to the social fabric of the country. I completely agree with you, Jordan. Carl Coffee James, my friend, good to see you. Greetings, I'm here for class. Good one, Carl. Jordan Luke, that's one thing that need to change. Tournaments starting in June and years start before training camp start. Jordan Luke again, the status of sports failed. Look at the great sportsmen of the past. Not a lot of young persons to look up to. Edna Jean-Jacques, good night, good evening, nice to have you here. Deborah Charles Smart, great to see you. Access to ski. Jordan also says there's also needs to be a push in administration. We need administration more than facilities, I think is what you meant to say. Dorian Dorival, Dominica, in this time have a long way to go in sports because our administration have no interest in sports, but just being where they are at the present moment. Murray Joe, great to see you. Clyde Gregoire, the gangs in Roseau was formed after the Windsor Park was broken down. Interesting observation, Murray. And I see Dunstan is nodding because I don't remember we having gang problems in Dominica when I grew up in Dominica. And yes, in fact, the Windsor Park was in existence back then. Jordan, look, big truth, losing Windsor Park was a big blow. Avril Bertrand, great to see you. Stadium had no place in Roseau. Jordan again, at least 30 teams down to 5. Nasty business in them Roseau ballers, okay? Deborah says, big up to my new pal rep, Dr. Williams, for reviving sports in the Southeast. Last weekend Sports Day was well received. Looking forward to seeing more of this at least every quarter. Thank you for your comments. Let's see who else we have. Avril says, Jordan, look, nothing as it is always to pacify the public as a distraction. Avril, extracurricular activities and academics are crucial for growth and development as well as community. Let's see someone we haven't taken as yet. Sandra Green in netball. Yes, that was my favorite sports, Sandra. Trevor, growing up in Granby, we had many cricket and basketball teams and had leagues in the South. However, over the years, there has not been smart investment in sports. Sports isn't seen as something one can make a successful career from, and thus is only seen as recreational. The government needs to invest properly in sports. And just nice to see you. I'm watching with you. So guys, thank you so much for the Facebook comments. Back to the panel. Any thoughts on the comments on Facebook? Professor, no one has any thoughts on what everybody's saying on Facebook. What about the observation?
I thought you said Maggie was gonna go first. So I was being respectful.
No, I'm sorry.
I was being respectful to Maggie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So you want me to go ahead?
Yes, go ahead if you have any thoughts on the comments.
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, and the thoughts in the comments were very wise. I must say a big congratulations and thank you to Sandra Green. She's an icon when it comes to young people and sports on the Northeast, along with a couple other magnificent people out there. And that was going to take me to the point that I was going to make when you were asking where do we go from there. And I had made a list. It's maybe a little bit long. Maybe I'll cut it in a couple of pieces But one of the things that I had on my list was having motivational speeches done by the icons of sportsmen and women in the schools. So, in other words, our icons, like, go to the different schools, the primary schools, encourage the young people and let the people know who those elders are, because I believe in a community raising a child. I don't believe a child can be raised by themselves. And hence the reason the comment on Facebook that said when Windsor Park was there was not gang violence. There were very, 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 very few gangs because everybody had somewhere to pass their energy. So I believe having motivational, like in social studies, talking about our local history of sportsmen and women, so the athletes can know who our heroes are, who our role models are. We don't have a lot of role model in society to look up on right now, on on like the nasty business as somebody mentioned. So I believe that people knowing and the role models is important. Like for example, me, I remember I and Maggie mentioned it. I remember the importance of the newspaper. And every time I go somewhere and I come back, the first thing I would do is go to the newspaper, go to the radio, because that was bringing the awareness of martial arts and my contribution to sports in Dominica. And by that, many people get to know who Mr. Robin was. So I think that the awareness, teaching it in the school, just like how we will teach about all the other sports and all the historians and all of the other great men in the Caribbean islands, and we should be doing that for our own people, putting our own people up on a pedestal, not having the mentality of, oh, who this guy think he is. He is somebody because he worked hard to get to where he is. It's like saying after Earnisha has what happened?
Well, you're here. We can see you. No, you're here. We can see you. Uh-oh. I think he may have fallen out. That's okay. He'll come right back. Maggie, let me come to you.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And yes, so really and truly, we always tend to run away. We tend to run away from it, and but money motivates, and this voluntary thing, where the coaches, the administration, these things, you have to be a full-time thing, because
Mhm.
you cannot be, running an association, a national association like basketball. Dominica Basketball Association, basketball, you governing basketball of the whole island. And it cannot be you working a 9 to 5, and then after your 9 to 5, you come in now and do a little thing for the basketball of the nation. It's tough, So it has to become, something where it's a job, what I mean? Because governing a sport is a job. It's a full-time job. It cannot be a part-time thing. You understand? And just wanted to make a quick correction of what we said before in terms of the youths that went to Germany from St. Lucia. The
Mhm.
SLFA, the Football Association of St. Lucia, is behind this.
Mhm.
So you see, it doesn't even always have to be government. The
Right.
associations has that power. And imagine that we can write programs, because these associations, all of them, for the Olympic Committee and the Olympic solidarity, you can write programs and put in your budgets, which include the coach, pay for the coaches and everything, the nutritionists, the psychologists, because these things are important. You want an athlete to, when you're asking him to do certain things or her to do certain things, you want to know that it is inside of them. So you don't leave it to come out. You come out at your home and you have to eat what at your home and come, and then you want to push the athlete. You have to, if you want the athlete to push, then you have to give them the right nutrition, because an athlete is not an ordinary human being. Like, it is a different, it's a different level, because the kind of energy and thing you expect of them, you cannot expect that from somebody just eating a little rice, like a pale, one thing like that. You have to eat proper nutrition, your carbohydrates, your this, your that, so you need nutritionists, professional, we need to take it on a professional level. And professional is not just, like out there alone. People like to say, if I was somewhere else, I'll be a star. Everything that's out there, we're capable of having it here, because we are
Right. Right.
connected to the whole
And
world.
Yeah, and then let me just ask you about DS Sports Vibes while you're here, because I think you are on the right track, Dunstan, with what you're doing, but I don't think you're getting the recognition and the support that you need to take this to the next level. So tell us about what is DS Sports Vibes, what are you doing, and where do you need the support? And then, Mr. Green, I want to come to you as we start talking about where do we go from here? How do we elevate sports? What is needed to ensure that young people like Earnisha and even the not so young who are interested in pursuing sports as a career, how do we create that opportunity? How do we create that plan to ensure that they do not have to go through the insurmountable amount of challenges that those we are seeing who are successful have to go through every time to make this into a career? So I'm going to come to you, but before I do, let me have Dunstan talk about DS Sports Vibes and all the work that you're doing for sports in Dominica.
Yes, and I want to really big up Albert Tit, Wang, who is, have the same vision, the same vibes as me. So I have to big him up because he's done a tremendous job. With what you see when you look on the page, DA Sports Vibes on Facebook, he works tirelessly, putting the photos and stuff like that and the videos and all that thing. He's, trust me, Albert Tit. We have to big him up. And also, we're getting a call. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can barely see you, Lamby, and I have glasses and I'm still blind. I'm sorry. Take the call.
Good evening, caller. Thanks for joining us. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm calling from Antigua. Is this Mr. Lambert?
It is.
Okay, this is Rosie from Baba.
Yeah, I got the voice.
Okay, I would like to make a contribution. I like the topic you all are discussing. My daughter, sports releases stress, especially in young people. I remember when my daughter was going to secondary school, she did a number of subjects and she used to run for the school. And when she was doing her exam, she wanted to quit the sport, but the headmaster told her no. And she was adamant she wanted to quit sport. And he said, no, the sport releases stress. And he called us, her parents, and he asked her to continue. Anyway, they went to St. Lucia and they played and they won. And that just motivated her because all these studies, and so she thought all these studies for her subjects that she would fail. But as I said, sport releases stress. And my son, he got a, St. Lucia gave Antigua some scholarships, and he was successful in attaining a scholarship from football. So he's in West Virginia. And another thing, sports help with academic too, because when they play the sport, things like being manageable and helping, and so that help them in attaining high scores academically. Mm-hmm. Yes. And the team he's playing for in West Virginia, they won another, they hadn't won a game in 20 years, and they won that game. Yes. Yes. I wish more young people would didn't need to do sports, but the facilities have to be there,
Mm-hmm.
And on another note, I would like to tell all the phenomenal women in Dominica and further afield, happy Women's Day, especially to my mother, my boss, my siblings, and myself. My birthday was on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I would like to tell Lambert to continue to cherish your lovely wife, Pat. And I wish her all the best. Bye.
Thanks,
yes,
Rosie.
thank you, caller. And
good night, Mr. Ron Green. This is Rosie. I guess you remember me. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, thank you, caller, for your contribution, and thank you, and happy belated birthday. And you're so right, because that is one of the other topics that I wanted us to cover. I was going to come to Earnisha for that in terms of the benefits of sports, but I want to go back to Dunstan. But the caller is correct, because I remember in high school I played netball from first to fourth form, and the greatest mistake I made was to quit netball in fifth form because I thought I had to study. And it was the most difficult thing to try to study because my body had become so accustomed to the exercise, to, creating the energy that my mind needed to study, that it was tremendously difficult for me to study without netball. So we have so many benefits that we see beyond those who want to pursue sports as a career. And Earnisha, I want you to start thinking about those benefits. But let's go back to Maggie, then over to you, Ron, and then to you, Earnisha. So Maggie, you were saying?
Yes, DA Sports Vibes. I wanted to big up, Albert Tit and also, Andres Joseph, who also got a scholarship through the Free Kick Foundation in St. Lucia. And, he's giving back already, So you see all the benefits, and also, Mr. Alexander, and a lot of them, people coming on board. But DA Sports Vibes, what it is we saw the need for, the media, sports media. There's not a little bit of sports, and it's very important, So, what we like you say, yeah, we're on the right track, and making people understand how important it is to record the games, because and to the photographs, the videos. So when you shoot a game, the coaches, everybody benefits. The coaches can come back and look at it to show the players where they went wrong, what they can do. They can look at it to check the games out, to prepare for another team. You see how they're playing, what you have to, then the organizers of the sport can see where they need to add, where they need to subtract. Everybody benefits from it. And also, most importantly, when a scout from a college for scholarship or even professional needs to see a player, then you can get some video footage. They can see for themselves, so they don't have to come like before. You have to fly over, and you have to be hoping a scout can come to Dominica. Now, it's right there. Send a video clip, or right now, through the Sports Vibes and through the reach, and we big up to the people and them to continue to share. The more you share, the more it go far. And you have inside Caribbean football, all these different people, all of Africa, India are looking in, and they are seeing the athletes, and they are asking for them, and they, so we getting recognized. But what we need now is better equipment. Right now we're just using our phones, borrowing a tripod by there, because we're doing it on our own, and we're trying to reach out for support so we can get more equipment and get people involved, so we can cover more games, all the school games, all these things is important, so we need the associations and the Olympic committees and the Ministry of Sports to come to give us that support, because we help them, help everybody. That's all we're asking for, because there's nothing in it really for us. We just want to help, we want to contribute. But we need the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Lambi, did you show a phone call or no? Okay, good. Yes, so very important. And Dunstan, I know you also started a mid-morning program on Mondays and Fridays, so we certainly see your efforts. And it's so important that you mentioned showcasing our talent, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was on one of your programs that I heard that someone said that the NBA, the National Basketball Association of America, is looking to recruit internationally. So think about the opportunities for those who are willing to showcase the talent on social media.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to also shout out Mr. Jerry Williams, who is another visionary working with us. And he's the one who brought up the mid-morning show, the sports break. And, it's an addition, and we're asking other people to, come on board so we can have more programs on the Sports Vibes that will bring more athletes. We have a whole heap of athletes and people at sport administrators that we need to bring them in so they can come and, bring out the vibes to the public. Bring out, we need to have that voice. We need to. Everybody needs to know what's going on, and so that they can come on board. Because if you don't know, you cannot get involved.
Right. So I think, Ron, you would agree with me that the one area we can all agree on is we are not lacking in talent. We are not lacking in talented sportsmen, sportswomen coming out of Dominica. But how do we create that path for them? We already talked about so many topics: the infrastructure, investing, nutritionists, training, coaches, the media. But how do we create that plan to ensure opportunities for our sportsmen and women?
Thank you, Simone. I think I mentioned the word coordination of all the main actors when I opened up my remarks earlier on. And I think that's a key factor in bringing the best brains and the best people together. So I think we need something like a national sports council
Mm-hmm.
where we can bring all the main actors in one place to focus on prioritizing the needs and prioritizing the facilities and just coordinating all that is required to ensure that people like Earnisha reaches the heights that she's capable of reaching. She identified the coaches that she needs,
Yes.
but who is going to actually, ensure that that happens? I don't think we have seen the leadership at the state level that we have seen in other countries, like in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking that a national sports council of bringing together all the associations and all the actors would be a giant step in the direction of ensuring that that talent that we have gets to the heights that it's capable of getting
But
to.
Ron, why do you think that is the case, though? Why do you think it is the case that we are not as invested as the other islands? And it's not. It's clearly not a small island, big island thing, because we see small islands like Saint Lucia investing in their sportsmen and women. So why do you think we are not as invested
That's a good
in
question.
a national sports policy?
That's a good question. I mean, one of the things that I was very pleased, and that is not to get into politics, but I was very pleased when I was a member of cabinet that when I looked around, I was able to see in that cabinet a number of people who had a very rich sporting experience. So I don't know. It's a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a sensitivity to the importance of sports, the importance of physical education in the schools that doesn't seem to be there at the leadership level in our country.
Right, absolutely. You're so right. Yes, so we're going to keep coming back to where do we go from here. But Anisha, I wanted to give you an opportunity to chime in the benefits of sports beyond pursuing a career, because I think even for the average person, we can reap benefits from being involved in sports. So just tell us about some of the benefits.
So I believe there's a lot of benefit in sports, especially you can use sport as an escape. Like I use cricket as an escape to get away from stress, and it reduces depression and anxiety, and also it promotes leadership skills. I think the benefits is that it exposes athletes, and then it sets an inspiration for others because they look at you and they'll be like, I want to be that person
Give
one
me
day.
give me 1 second, Anisha. Ron, can you mute your mic? I think there might be a little bit of a feedback coming in on your end. Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Anisha. Thank you.
So I think sports, the benefit of sports mentally prepares you, and it boosts your mood and self confidence, especially me. I was not really a confident person before, and now I'm so confident. And I think it also helps to improve your concentration and focus mentally. And as a wicket keeper, I would say that because I need to concentrate on every single ball. Also, physically, it keeps you healthy and in shape, and you can manage your weight that way. And I
Mhm.
believe that discipline, I always tell myself to stay humble and be as positive as always I can be. And I think self expression, cricket allows me to express myself, not only cricket, but other sports as well. And athletes would know that they feel free. And when I cross the boundary line, I don't think of anything else. I think of cricket, and I'm in a whole different dimension, I would say. So I
Mhm.
believe that's a few benefits of sports that I can give. Thank you.
Yes, yes, and you're so right, Anisha, because one of the things you mentioned is the disappointment of not being selected at some point. So think about the benefit of dealing with defeat, because you have to be able to face defeat and bounce back. because that is your true passion. And we can have a conversation. I think Ron will be right back. But Maggie, let us also talk about the importance about, we talk about our kids being on their devices for too many hours. We talk about the young men on the block, the idle hands syndrome, the devil's playgrounds, the idle hands. We talk about NCDs in the Caribbean, how we are suffering from so many NCDs in the Caribbean. Obesity. I just heard a report out of St. Lucia again, where they were talking about this incredibly high rate of obesity in St. Lucia. Some of these problems we once thought they were a North American problem, but they're right in our backyard. So we have to think about all those things when we talk about promoting sports. Your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the youths and them being on the phones and stuff, yeah, really, that's why there needs to be more harder push, in terms of qualified coaches and stuff like that, more incentive and more motivation, because back then that sports was our when you go on Facebook and things. So when we come on school, that all you had was sports. Right now, you
Mhm.
have so many options and distractions that is difficult. Like you have to get a youth to leave to come and train. Back then, your mother used to try to escape to go and train, to go on the court. Now your mother want to kick you out the house to go on the court, because you just there in the room. There's on the phone. There's there, browsing or playing games and stuff like that. So that's where, all in the schools we need to have, all from it has to take a togetherness between the associations, the Ministry of Sports, the schools, to work together so we can have a continuity. So when you're in primary school, secondary school, and all that, the coach, it'll be like a steady step. So when you come high school and then college, you have that total complete thing. But now, when you go to school, is a sports teacher that coaching everything, but that sports teacher only maybe his favorite thing is football, but you have to do volleyball, netball, and all these other things. You know what I mean? So we need to invest in the sport and have sport specific coaches that are qualified, and we have to take it serious and not just be like recreation and thing. Take it serious, and that's what it is. We have to be professional about it. We cannot be like just sports is a sports teacher, and yeah, and then the sports teacher he just focuses on, like a youth goes to SMA, and SMA before you used to have Sir Charles, in football, and then you have Mr. Elwin basketball. So you have the different, but now you have one teacher, big respect to the sports teachers. They're trying their best, and no knocking them, but they need help, and we have to help them. So we have to, between the association, like I said, we can write projects. So you not be able to give the full funds, but at least you can put half, and then the Ministry of Sports can put the other half, and then so you can have a coach getting at least 1,000, 1,500 a month, to have put a proper program, football program, a proper basketball program, a proper netball program in the school, and collectively we can do it, and then the youths and them will now feel more exciting. And also, like I said, by now I hope they have a billboard making of putting some billboards in place for Ali Kafanas and the likes, so that the youths can be inspired by these youngsters, and that can also inspire them to work harder. You know what I mean? And then you should be entering Granby and seeing a big billboard. Welcome to Granby, the home of Ali Kafanas.
Mm-hmm.
This simple thing, and it doesn't take much. I mean, how much that does take? That, what I'm saying. So these simple things can go a long way, and it's not rocket science. It's basic stuff, but we just have to come together. We have to work together, and I mean, we can't run away from the politics that is dividing us. You cannot. So like myself, I don't know who when I train the youths, I don't know who their mother supporting me for. It doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't
But
matter.
it's supposed to matter to you who the mother or father, who they supporting. The youth is interested in football, and he showing a desire. You have to just give him the support, and let's go. You know what I mean? So we need to come off that kind of thing. And a parent might say, well, Maggie, you see Maggie, they're actively hitting the government, so they don't want to send the youth to Maggie's program. So you're depriving the youth from coming to learn from and get opportunity from what Maggie could help him, because you feel Maggie is too much anti-government, the government, and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, it's happening. It happens,
Mhm.
and it's not good. It's the youth and them that paying for it, and it's very sad. that they used to have to suffer through, this kind of stuff like that. So,
Right, right. Absolutely, Maggie. Thank you. Ron, you wanted to say something? You're muted. Ron, you're muted.
I
Hold
just
on.
wanted to.
Just
I
give me
wanted
1
to.
second. Lambi, did you have a call? Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I just wanted to big up Maggie again and the volunteerism that drives a lot of the things that are happening, the spark that keeps things going at community level for a lot of the sports that's going on and succeeding in Dominica today. If it wasn't for coaches like Avaska Charles of the Southeast, whose dedication is there, there's no stipend, and Maggie pointed that out, and that would be a wonderful way of inspiring and motivating further those who have already been identified and doing the work voluntarily at the community level to keep sports alive in the country, to keep people like Earnisha and other talented youth going, because without that, those youth will just disappear.
Absolutely. And again, it comes back to the mindset that we talked about. But before we go there, Maggie, you have a very important, and we have to think beyond Dominica. We have to think beyond Dominica because, Maggie, one of the things that I know that you're doing is that you're working in collaboration with a coach in New York, Coach Francois. So tell us about that, because this is how we take it to the next level. Right? We look beyond Dominica. We look at the region. We look at the rest of the world. And we say, how can we connect? How can we collaborate with people outside of Dominica so we can open up the field, literally open up the field so that Dominicans have more opportunities? So tell us about that collaboration, because that is the direction that we have to go if we're looking to elevate sports.
Yes, well, it all comes again through the networking. Networking
Yes.
is very important, and it stems from myself being in the music. That's what I used to do, network, when I was in WCK, to get the music out there so we could get gigs all over. And so through them, we realize that that networking works with everything basically. So it's through networking and the market, the media, social media, and bringing promoting the athletes, and athletes telling you about one, linking you to another coach, and boom boom, and then right there. So we have to look beyond, like I say, beyond Dominica. No longer can you say, not just because I'm in Dominica I cannot make it. Yeah, because there, it's in your palm of your hand. The phone is in your palm of your hand, and you can reach out to everybody. I mean, a friend of a friend, and there's also the former athletes and them that are out there in the US, that went to the colleges, that have the links, and with the coaches have to also pass it on, pass it on back to the coaches back home, so we can get more youths to go through there. And voila, so Coach Donald first come through the network, and then the GM5 G5W phone call.
Yes, phone call. Thank you, Maggie.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, Dunstan. I keep calling you Maggie.
That's okay.
Good evening, caller. Thank you for joining us. Please go ahead. Oh, we lost that call.
Okay, we'll take it when the caller calls back. Thank you.
Yes, so I was saying, Coach Donald is from G5W.
Okay, call.
Good evening, caller. You're on. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Dominica.
Good evening.
What a good conversation.
Thank you.
But one of the things that we have to take into consideration, in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, there was that level of discipline. The elderly before us, the players before us, would not introduce marijuana to us. Rather, we as young men growing up, we want to be like them. And you know how they take soccer, whatever sport they play, how they take it serious. Two men come to me in St. Joseph, and I want to take that opportunity tonight and thank you in a big way to congratulate and to thank that special family, the Marshall family. Eustace Marshall, Shane Marshall, Lipsy Marshall, Roy Marshall. You call them the four horses. They have made St. Joseph and Dominica proud for a number of years. The way they play soccer in Dominica, people had to take soccer serious at that time because those guys was no nonsense. But I can tell you, those guys was good, but they had family support. Their mother and father, Marshall and Mr. Marshall. I can tell you, these people was no nonsense. And I want to take tonight and say special thanks to that husband and wife for bringing 4 guys that have made St. Joseph great over the years. I can tell you, when you have family support, that will not lead you the wrong way and give you right direction. That marijuana the government introduced to the young men in Dominica is the #1 killer to sports in Dominica. We have to face the truth. When you smoke, you're not normal, and you're not going to travel overseas, and they're not going to test you for drugs. So anytime you're into marijuana, you have already caught up yourself from the international sport. So we have to stress on that too. God bless Dominica. Thank you.
Yes, excellent point, caller. Excellent point. Thank you for sharing that. Maggie, let's go back to you.
Call.
Oh, call. I'm sorry.
Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yes. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good
Fine.
evening. We're well.
Good program. Good program.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just trying to. Today I was just reflecting back when I was a young man involved in sports. And I remember we had a community league that called the Reebok League that we organized in the area of Castle Bruce, the territory, Calinago community, La Plaine, the whole East. And because of how we played, we ended up going to Marigaland, and we had a good stint where we won a match. And today what I find is the young people, although they have coaches, but the passion for practice is not there, especially as an individual. And what I'm saying, if you want to do well in sport, you must put in the work. Personal work, you have to put that in. If you do not put in personal work and you just depend upon the coach and you just come on a bus and you go and play, when you come back, you're going to have cramps, you're going to have all kind of different things. Your muscles will be weak, and you're not going to really make it long. So what I want to encourage the young people, if you want to make it in a sport, you have to discipline yourself. Like eating well, sleeping, practicing, this is important. Personal practice, and I heard that one man talk about parents' input. Yes, this is very important. And what you find today, crowds are not coming out to support teams. This is something that we had before. The crowd coming from the community and come and give us big support when we were playing basketball or cricket or football. Today you will find us a handful. So I really want to advocate and say to the people who are involved in sports, we have to now zero it down to the community level, and let's get back the community spirit and get sports back on a rise. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, caller. And it became a family matter, right? With people congregating for the sports. Give me 1 second. Yes, so it became a family matter with people congregating for the sports. Let's take the next phone call. And then, Ron, I saw you smiling, so I want to hear your comments on the last caller. Keep your thoughts in mind.
Good evening, caller on the international line. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, man.
Good evening.
I want to call and just give Maggie my support and tell him, what he's doing is really brilliant, especially with the lack of resources, And that's the only little hope I've seen, knowing that I'm a Dominican that have been participating in a lot of things when it comes for the youth, because I always advocate for the youth. And it's really nice to hear Maggie talking. If you could hear the love, the eager to achieve, And I know Maggie don't have to do that. I know you're not getting a paycheck out of that. I know that is just love. And we have no direction for the youth. We took the Windsor Park, where was an area where the children would go to, especially in the Roseau area, I must say. Even the gardens, they used to go and play, and have different, games and meet and socialize and, do what they have to do. They have that no more. And especially with this invention of the internet, where the kids are more into their games and stuff, Maggie, as a person that love my country, man, I have to tell you thumbs up. I have to tell you thumbs up all the time, because I know it's not easy to do that. And this is a good program tonight, because sometimes you want program that can elevate, the youth, and let them understand that they're still elderlies and others who love them and want better for them. And I wish the government, I have to, it's politics again, because the government have nothing in place to say, I can say, oh, the government are invested, even though it's $500,000 to sports, where the local grassroots man can get some assistance to help one another, So we have to keep it up, Maggie. I want to tell you, I hope there are others that can have that kind of energy. I wish you could pull them on board. And, you all keep on doing what you're all doing, because in the end of the tunnel, there's a reward, and that reward is of good, and good is a good energy that have a lot of blessings in it, because there's one man above. So I want to tell you, as a brother who cares about the youth back home, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, my brother. I know you well, you know me. And I want to tell you, continue, bro. The reward will come one day. If it don't come in your hand, bro, you have children, it will fall in their hand. Bless up. Have a blessed night.
Thank you, caller. And I couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it better, because I follow Maggie, and I can tell you his passion is real. It's true, and it's not dependent on a paycheck, because a lot of us, we don't do things unless we're getting paid for it. So his passion is true. But Maggie, before I come back to you, Ron, you had some thoughts you wanted to share?
Yeah, I was smiling because I recognized the voice of one of the founding members of Reebok. Reebok is a Rural Eastern Basketball Organizing Committee, and that was Billy Banis from Casa Bruce, who together with Patrick Henderson and yours truly organized this group that pushed basketball from Dailies right up to Paybush, and had a league going, and as he said, went to Marie-Galante as an all-star team to play against Marie-Galante. So I just wanted to big him up as one of the founding members. That's just a historical note.
Yes, thank you. So let me come back to you, Maggie, because I also think that one of the things that you all are working on is inviting the neighboring islands to come to Dominica. So again, reaching out beyond Dominica. And then Earnisha, I want to come to you, because I want us to talk about where it really starts. It really starts with changing the mindsets, changing how we see sports in Dominica, changing how we see sports as opportunities for employment. So Earnisha, I want to come to you after we go to Maggie. And I want you to tell us, what has been the reaction now that you're looking to pursue cricket as a profession? So I want you to think about that for a minute. But Maggie, let me come back to you. And I agree 100% with that last caller, who there is not enough praise we can bestow on you, Maggie, for all that you do, despite all the tremendous challenges that you face.
Yeah, give thanks to my brother there. And as Mr. Green is speaking about the East there, I want to just make mention before, the East right now has, in terms of football, they have 4 premier teams. Out of 10, there are 4. There are LA Stars, you have Southeast, you have East Central, and you have United. 2 from Castle Bruce, and you have Southeast, Grand Forks area, and then you have La Plaine. That's 4. And all these teams have to come all the way. Right now, they have to go all the way to Jubla and Portsmouth to play football. 2 fields. And then if not, it's Roseau. The East, with all these things, Castle Bruce have so much land, that big playing field there, that has the potential to be a big stadium, a big, for a big shrine of football for the East. The East also have their own vibes, So I just calling on that for the East. The people in the East, they need to strike, call for that, push for that. You know what I mean? And yeah, in terms of the parents, it's important for the parental support of the athletes and the young athletes, because that was important back then. Your parents will get you, push you out, send you to the ensure that you go to the field, and then your coach and your parents had that communication. So it wasn't just like right now, like sometimes the parents just like want to get rid of you because they want to run for themselves, want to do what they have to do, get you out of the fit, right, but actually come and support you, come and see what you're doing, and it makes the athlete feel good that my mom and my dad is looking at me and they cheering me on. So it making you, to make your family proud. And we see that coming back right now, We see that Midland, United have to big up Midland United in Cochrane there with Norma Bonnie and them, the Perry, the family, that vibes. And so, yeah, the sports, there's a lot of potential, and it just comes back again to the togetherness, you know what I mean? And with what it is we need to funding, always the issue with funding. What we need to do now, we need to start hosting these tournaments, host more tournaments, so we can invite the teams and clubs to come over here. So then we also benefit. When 4 or 5 teams come, they have to stay in hotel, they have to eat, they have to move around. That's income, that's sports tourism. So we have to look at sports as a holistic thing and not just the game itself.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a call? Yes, thank you.
Good evening, caller. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, I was thinking when the children play sports, they have to be focused and be determined. And another thing, when they lose, whether they lose or win, we have to, okay, like when they win, most time we compliment them. And then when they lose, we blame them, but we still have to encourage them to, do their best. And as the gentleman said, the family is important to rally around them. But even more than the family, they have to put God in it. I remember when my daughter and them went to St. Lucia for track and field. St. Lucia have a lot of rain like Dominica. So when they reached, they were supposed to play and a lot of rain. And the field was not as good as the one in Antigua. So some of the games they were complaining and they were down. And my daughter, not her idea, I think God put it in her mind to tell them. She said, no, we cannot be down and out. Even we have to take off our shoe and run. Let us try our best. And they eventually won. So when she came back to Antigua now, she was so thankful. She went and she hugged her principal and she told me, thanks for encouraging my parents. And she even added more to her subjects that she had to take, and she passed all her subjects. I think God was in it, God was in it. So sometimes we cannot, when we're down, we cannot be out. We have to encourage one another. It's like a chain. If you have a chain and you cherish that chain, and 2 links are missing, you're going to go to the jewel and try to, connect everything. So they have to be determined among themselves and with the parents and even the coaches and everybody.
Yes, thank you, caller. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. So before we run out of time, 2 quick observations. We talk about sponsorship, but Maggie, I think we also have to think be outside the box, because yes, sponsors are important, donations are important, but another area I think it is important for us to explore is to create opportunities for, like, for example, Shopify. And I know I talk about Shopify a lot. No, I'm not sponsored by Shopify. I'm not getting paid to promote them. But I think it is important because the selling of merchandise, I talked about it with regards to the importance of Carnival merchandise, which should be still selling to this day, but we don't have a Shopify for Carnival. But something else we can consider going forward. And again, everything needs money. So if there's the possibility of a sponsor to create a Shopify website where the merchandise from our sports, like Ajani just won, right? We should have a t-shirt that we're selling to celebrate Ajani, Alec, Athanas, Earnisha, Fontaine. Why can I not go on a website and buy a t-shirt to show how proud I am of these young people? So we always have to constantly be thinking outside the box, because as we always talk about on this program, the only constant is change. So we have to see the changes and see the opportunities in the changes as we embrace technology to help us to accomplish these goals. So Earnisha, I did not forget you. Let us talk about the importance of mindset, because I think with everything that we've talked about this evening, it starts with changing how we see sports in Dominica. So, what was the reaction when you started talking about pursuing cricket?
To be very honest, I thought about it myself because I had to sacrifice leaving college, but not completely, but like focusing on the cricket at the moment. And my parents were actually mad at me for doing that. But then they realized that it was an escape and it helped me a lot. So I believe the mindset that you have to have for cricket is going out there and staying focused and humble. And not just only pursuing a career in cricket and just playing cricket all your life. You have to think of life after cricket. So
Yes.
that's true. So a lot of people said that because you're from Dominica that you will not go find cricket. It wouldn't help you. Why am I wasting my time? I got a lot of negative comments, but my coach as well was a professional cricketer back then in England, and he told me positive stuff as well as Ali Afanaz. So I took it from them, and I learned that I can use sport as cricket as a career going forward, which will help me a lot.
Hmm. Yes, and I truly appreciate you being here, Earnisha. We want to thank Mr. Dicia Burton, Miss Dominica for recommending you, and just to have a face to the reason why we have these conversations, the reason why we have the hope and the zeal to be able to push forward, because again we talk about all the challenges we face in Dominica, but we have to be able to walk and chew gum and focus on opportunities for our Dominican people. So, Mr. Green, Ron, let me come to you, your final thoughts as we wind down. And again, I want to thank you for being here this evening. You're muted. Oh boy, I wonder if he can see us. You're muted, Ron.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yes, thank you. Let me thank you for inviting me to the program, and I want to encourage you, Simone, to continue with these kinds of discussions, bringing on various sporting personalities, different parts of the country to discuss their views as to how we go forward, because I think it is important that we air these views. Too often we have views, but we don't get the opportunity to share them. And I would want to support the efforts that you are doing on this program, and people like Maggie, who is also in that same field, using media and using promotions to get the message out and to share the way forward.
Yes.
So thanks again, and keep it up. And that I don't think I could say more than that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Ron. Thank you for your support, and thank you for being a part of the program. We hope we can engage you again on a future conversation, including Earnisha as well. And of course, Maggie never says no, so I know if I have another program, he will be more than happy, because that is his passion. Youth, he always tells me, as long as it's for the youth, I'll do it. So Maggie, your final thoughts, and again, thank you for being here.
Yeah, give thanks. And I like to tell all the rest of Mr. Ron Green and Earnisha and Shannah Robin and everybody else that DA Sports Vibes, it's our DAs for Dominica. It's our sports vibes, it's our own. So it's there for us to spend as much time as we want promoting sports, Dominica sports, our athletes, our everything. So don't be shy. Reach out. So this what we have in here right now. We have 2 hours on Q95. We appreciate it. But DA Sports Vibes, whole day, every day, whole week, every week, whole month is there. So let's utilize it and let's take advantage of it. You know what I mean? And you reach out to Albert Tit, myself, Dunstan, Maggie Peters, and with there, the Sports Vibe, we're looking for more programs. We just come up with a program, sports, and the only total sports network in Dominica is DA Sports Vibes. So it's our own. It's not Maggie own and Wang own. It's all of us own. So let's grow it together.
Right, and Maggie, give us a contact email or something where we can reach you.
Yeah, well, you can reach me at 767-285-4070, and our email address is dasportsvibes@gmail.com. You can also email me at 767sportsclub@gmail.com. and check out our Facebook page, DA Sports Vibes. Just type in DA Sports Vibes on, search it on Facebook, and share the posts, share the videos, share everything. The more we share, is the bigger it gets. So it's simple.
Right. And Vibes is VYBEZ, right?
VYBEZ.
Right, DA Spotlight. So thank you, Maggie. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for our panel for being here. We lost Sheehan Shannon, but we want to thank him as well. Lambi, thank you for taking the call, showing on the console, on the engineering, DJ Shan in the background. We must take some comments before we leave because we appreciate our callers who called in, our listeners worldwide, Q95, Mr. G, the Q95 family. Thank you for allowing us to be here to have these conversations that impact the lives of our Dominicans, brothers and sisters at home and abroad. Nixie Alfred, I see you. Thank you for being here on the Facebook Live. Thai Francis, always here with us. Thank you for being here. Music, entertainment, tourism, sports should go hand in hand. You are absolutely correct. Thai and Joseph, always nice to see you. Growing up in the 70s, we had thriving cricket, football, basketball, and netball leagues. There was also rounders and other sporting disciplines being played. Sports was played in every school during recess time, so true. Unfortunately, sports is virtually non-existent in our schools in Dominica. Here in America, no one is allowed to graduate from high school without a passing grade in physical education. Colson Lawrence, always great to see you. Good vibes as always. Thank you for being here. Medora Lewis, another regular. Thank you for being here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting program. Tina Bell, always nice to see you. Sports a medium to exhale, as rightly said by the young lady. Let's see if there's anybody else we haven't heard from. Tabitha Green, thank you for being here. Earnisha Etienne, proud of you. Indeed, we are very proud of Earnisha. And then Thai Francis, Maggie, I saw Jubla FC and the next FC team coming on the field in grand style last weekend to commence the game. So again, thank you everyone for being here for another episode of Roots Connections on Q. I am Simone Mathieu, and this evening we talked about embracing opportunities in sports. Where do we go from there? Where do we provide opportunities for the Earnisha Fontaines of the world, Alex Athanas, and create that pathway so that it is not so difficult for our young people in Dominica to pursue sports. And I have to tell you, you know, I talk a lot about strategic action plans, but that is what it will take to move our people, our country, and our region forward. And I just want to mention that our plans are working. We are putting plans in place and they are working. For example, our Dominica Child Protection Society, we are now working with the Convent PTA to ensure that we're protecting our vulnerable youth. We have a meeting with Be More Mentorship tomorrow to see how we can collaborate. The important word to this year, we talk about invest in me, invest in us. But another important word this year is collaboration. So we're going to speak with them to see how we can collaborate with them to be able to protect even more vulnerable children. We also had other organizations reach out to us, such as the Dominica National Conservation Trust Fund, as well as the East Dominica Federation for Children. So we have a lot of work to do, but we have the resources. We have the people. I mean, imagine how many people have been on this program to date. So we have the people who are passionate enough to get the work done. But what we have to pay attention to is who already has their sleeves up doing the work. Maggie is doing the work. And how can we bring on more people to do the work to get our people where they need to be? So I'm truly happy that everyone joined us here for another episode of Roots Connection. Of course, if you want to know all about the collaborations that we're doing, you can visit pushpast10, pushpast10.com, because we take it way beyond our conversations. We take it into the strategic action plans on this program. And I always enjoy hearing from you. So if you want to reach me, you can reach me at pushpast10@gmail.com. So that is pushpast10@gmail.com. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Earnisha. Thank you, Lambi and Shehan, who dropped off. Again, we want to thank you for being here. So join us again in 2 weeks. I believe that will be March 22nd, as we talk about yet another topic of how do we navigate the changing world around us, and how do we position Dominica to reap the benefits of this changing world. So let us continue the battles. The battles are endless. Let us continue the battles, but let us always think about how do we move our people, our country, and our region forward. And with that, we say good evening to everyone. You can unmute your mic and wave good evening to everyone. Good night. Thank you to our callers, our listeners, and of course, our Facebook Live audience. So until next time, I am Simone Mathieu, and it was a pleasure being here with you. You have yourself a wonderful evening and enjoy the rest of the week. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Good night. Bless up. Give thanks.
Yes, thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Lambi.
Good night.
Thank you, Ron. Earnisha. Bye-bye.